Good evening. You're watching the News at 6 with me, Ishan Russell. The News at 6 is all about the day's biggest developing story, and one of the big developments that has happened today is, of course, between India and Pakistan. Pakistani Prime Minister received a phone call today from Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi. What was discussed and what is the ramifications of that? We'll be talking about that with a special guest a little later in the show. But first, the headlines we're tracking right now. 9 killed, nearly 150 injured as 9 bogies of the Bangalore-Ernakulam Intercity Express derail near Hosur in Karnataka. The death toll is expected to rise with at least 16 people seriously injured. Break-in and alleged vandalism at a convent school in South Delhi. Prime Minister Modi summons Delhi Police Chief, asked him to probe the recent spate of attacks on Christian institutions. The political war of words continues in Bihar. Governor slams Nitish Kumar, says he went by rules in giving time to Manji to prove his majority. Alabama state police officer who allegedly assaulted an Indian in a race crime has been arrested. FBI to probe the case as the US expresses condolences. And armed militants storm a Shia mosque in Peshawar, killing 19 and wounding dozens more. Pakistani troops and police commandos engaged them in a gun battle. Well, top story right now. Foreign Secretary S. Jaishankar is expected to visit Pakistan to discuss bilateral issues. It will be the first top-level meeting between the two countries since the Pakistan Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif visited India in 2014 to take part in Narendra Modi's oath-taking ceremony. News of the impending visit came on a day when Prime Minister Narendra Modi called the Pakistani Premier to convey his best wishes for the Cricket World Cup. He also spoke with Afghanistan President, Sri Lanka and the Prime Minister of Bangladesh. With 5 SAARC nations playing in the World Cup, the PM acknowledged the role of cricket in the region. He also said the new Foreign Secretary S. Jaishankar will soon set out on a SAARC yatra.
If there are other issues on the agenda, we push those issues in the agenda. But this is a SAARC related yatra which is proceeding from a country which will start off with another SAARC country. I have made it very clear. It will include all SAARC countries, I have made it very clear. It will also include Pakistan. India is focused on the SAARC agenda. I have given you a list. Yes, if there are opportunities, we push our agenda everywhere.
Now we're joined by Mr. Anand K. Sahai. He is the coordinating editor at the CNH to help us understand a little better, Mr. Sahai, in terms of diplomacy, how important is the secretary level talks? I mean, they're not really secretary level talks, bilateral talks, but there are expected to be bilateral talks when during this entire SAARC visit that the foreign secretary is going to undertake, given recently that all kind of diplomatic engagements almost were suspended, given ceasefire violations. How important is this?
I think it's a very useful visit, Ishan. I know the Modi government came in the month of May, and the Prime Minister himself called all the SAARC leaders, and since then, I think with the possible exception of Sri Lanka, where there's been a change of government, things have not moved with the speed with which they might have, and in the meantime we've had a SAARC summit also, where the economic agenda, a very heavy economic agenda, has been talked about for a long time, but in terms of connectivity, in terms of transportation, those are the big issues. And I think if those issues are addressed, all of us who are in SAARC, all countries will benefit. And India, Pakistan have always been the elephant in the room as far as other SAARC nations are concerned. With Pakistan bilaterally, things seem to be going quite nicely until the Foreign Secretary talks were called off because we did not like their Ambassador High Commissioner here meeting with the Kashmir groups, separatist groups, before the Foreign Secretary talks were to take place, and we called it off. I think there was a point of principle involved somewhere, but I think it's important that countries, no matter how divergent their perceptions, do not stop talking to each other. And since it was India that had called it off, perhaps an indication from India something concrete. That listen, we can begin our conversation again. Let's see where that leads. And Foreign Secretary Jaishankar going to Islamabad will, I think, will be a very beneficial, useful thing. I know it's been like slotted as a part of a SARC initiative, but there is little question in my mind, or perhaps in the mind of, there will be in the mind of any observer, that an important part of SARC itself is to lubricate the India-Pakistan agenda.
Right.
And Mr. Jaishankar's trip is aimed at fulfilling that purpose. I hope it succeeds. It's a really very useful thing, very innovative way to go about it. And the PM, of course, himself has, after a very, very long time, because the World Cup cricket is beginning, so he's speaking to all SARC cricket playing there. All SARC countries are really little cricket champions. So that afforded him an opportunity to speak to Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif, which again is a good sign.
All right, good sign as far as diplomacy between India and Pakistan and India and the SARC nations is concerned. Mr. Anand, I will ask you to stay on because there's another story a little later in the show that we'd like your comment on as well. So please just hold on. Meanwhile, let's talk about what happened in near Bangalore today. 9 coaches of the Bangalore-Ernakulam Intercity Express derailed early this morning, killing 9 people and injuring over 150 others. The incident occurred near Hosur in Karnataka around 7:45 in the morning, about an hour and a half after the train left Bangalore early this morning. 9 bogies jumped off the rails. Initial reports said a boulder on the track caused the accident. Distance from habitation meant ambulances reportedly took nearly an hour to reach the spot. Rail Minister Suresh Prabhu has rushed to the site. A detailed inquiry has been ordered. A compensation of 2 lakh rupees has also been announced for the families of the deceased, and 50,000 rupees will be given to those severely injured and 20,000 rupees to those who suffered simple injuries.
It could be due to over speeding on the spot. Number 2, it could be due to mechanical flaw in the railway track. Third, it could be mechanical flaw in the bogies or the engine track. Railway Security Commissioner is there. He has to conduct an inquiry. That is an independent post in the Urban Development Department. They will give an opinion and report.
News from the national capital now. Delhi police has been asked to carry out a thorough probe after a break-in at a convent school in South Delhi this morning. The directive from the Prime Minister comes amid allegations of another of several acts of vandalism against Christian institutions in the city.
Holy Child Auxilium School, Vasant Vihar in South Delhi, the latest Christian institution in the limelight over an alleged act of vandalism. Police say the principal's office was vandalized and some CCTV cameras damaged. Members of the Christian community expressed concern, even as the school said the incident is being treated as theft rather than vandalism.
Maid came to open the school. She found the principal's office and the administrative office was found open. And we found the CCTVs were damaged and the cameras were destroyed. 6 cameras were destroyed. And from the principal's office, they have ransacked all the cupboards. They thrown away all the papers and documents. And approximately 12,000 rupees were missing.
हमें तो इसका बड़ा दुख है और आश्चर्य है कि ये अब 6वां किस्सा है दिल्ली के अंदर ही, जहां पर या तो क्रिश्चियन संस्थाओं को या क्रिश्चियन मंदिरों को या हमारे गिरजाघरों को पर आक्रमण किया जा रहा है.
HRD Minister Smriti Irani, an alumna of the school, visited the premises. Prime Minister Modi summoned the police commissioner and asked for a thorough investigation. The police looked to calm tempers, saying this is not a case of desecration as seen in the past.
माननीय प्रधानमंत्री महोदय ने मुझे आज बुलाया था. उन्होंने मेरे से जो इंसिडेंट हुआ है बसंत विहार में होली चाइल्ड स्कूल के का इंसिडेंट, इसके बारे में जानकारी प्राप्त की. उसके अलावा उन्होंने जो है अपनी गहन चिंता प्रकट की. उन्होंने मुझे इस बात की ताकीद की है कि दिल्ली पुलिस इफेक्टिव कदम उठाए ताकि इस प्रकार के इंसिडेंट्स जो है करने वालों को पकड़ा जाए और उसके अलावा इस प्रकार के इंसिडेंट्स रिपीट ना हो.
The incident occurred despite orders of heightened security around churches and other Christian religious institutions in the city. It's the 6th attack on Christian institutions since November. Delhi Chief Minister designate Arvind Kejriwal condemned the attack, assuring that putting a stop to such incidents will be a priority area for his government.
ये ऐसी घटना है जिसको कभी भी एक्सेप्ट नहीं किया जा सकता, बल्कि इसके खिलाफ अब कुछ करना पड़ेगा, क्योंकि ये लगातार बढ़ रही हैं। और इसको सिर्फ सिंपल कोई घटना कह के आप छोड़ दीजिए। अब कल ये कार्यक्रम हो जाए, इसके बाद में हम पुलिस के साथ भी बैठ के चर्चा करेंगे।
The incident came as fodder for attack for the Congress, its first opportunity since the Delhi poll drubbing.
रिलीजियस टॉलरेंस ही असली भारतीयता है, और भारतीयता और भारत की संस्कृति सही मायने में जब तक पूर्ण नहीं होती, जब तक उसके अंदर धार्मिक सहिष्णुता को हम नहीं डालें। और इस प्रकार के अटैक्स भारत की रिलीजियस टॉलरेंस, धार्मिक सहिष्णुता के ऊपर प्रश्न चिन्ह लगाती है, और कांग्रेस पार्टी इस प्रकार के अटैक्स की कड़े शब्दों में निंदा करती है।
Exactly a week back, Christian clergymen and members of the community had staged a silent protest and candlelight vigil after the church attack in the capital. The latest attack, theft or vandalism, comes as another of many jabs. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha Television.
Well, some politics now, and the wait for a government in Jammu and Kashmir could soon be over. While reports say that the BJP and the PDP have already decided on a coalition government, the PDP has announced a 6-member team to start a structured dialogue with the BJP. The team is expected to meet Finance Minister Arun Jaitley, who is heading the negotiations for the BJP. PDP patron Mufti Mohammad Saeed and Prime Minister Narendra Modi are also expected to meet to seal the deal. Both parties have to spell out their agreement on issues including the retraction of Article 370, AFSPA, the government's stand on separatists, and granting special status to the state. Now time for all the other news and updates from across the country and nationwide. Voting took place in by-polls today to one Lok Sabha and one Assembly constituency in West Bengal and in Tamil Nadu's Sri Rangam Assembly constituency. By-polls were also held in one Assembly constituency in Arunachal Pradesh and one in Goa. Polling was reported as peaceful amid tight security. In Tamil Nadu, the vacancy arose from disqualification of AIADMK Supremo J. Jayalalitha. In West Bengal, these by-polls are being viewed as a crucial test of the popularity of the ruling Trinamool Congress at a time when the party is facing heat over the Sabha scam. The Supreme Court today granted protection from arrest to social activist Teesta Setalwad and her husband for another 6 days in the case of alleged embezzlement of funds for a museum at Ahmedabad's Gulbarg Society that was devastated in the 2002 riots. The Apex Court said it would independently examine on the basis of FIR whether it is a case for granting anticipatory bail or not, or which has been denied to Setalwad and her husband. Former Union Minister Shashi Tharoor appeared before the SIT yet again this afternoon in connection with the mysterious death of his wife Sananda Pushkar. This is the third time in the last 24 hours that he is meeting the Delhi police sleuths. According to sources, he had come to mark his attendance with the police and inform about his schedule as he is leaving for Kerala in the evening. He was questioned in 2 rounds on Thursday and finally left the Vasant Vihar office of the SIT at midnight. We'll take a quick break now, but coming up on the other side, we'll be telling you about the budget expectations. Today, we'll focus on gender.
Aimed at protecting the marine environment and human health, all Indian ships will now have to comply with the anti-fouling systems. Will the new merchant shipping law protect India's fragile marine environment?
How do you see this impacting the seamen?
This is going to impact a lot on their health.
Watch our new episode of Law of the Land on the merchant shipping law this Saturday at 6:30 p.m. on Rajya Sabha TV.
Welcome back. You're watching the news at 6. On to the politics in Bihar now, where the BJP is keeping its options open of supporting Bihar Chief Minister Jitam Ram Manjhi in the trust vote on the 20th of February. But ahead of the votes, all sides and all factions are engaging in constant war of blaming rivals for the current state of affairs. In fact, Bihar Governor Kesari Tripathi finally broke his silence on the entire crisis, saying what he did was to follow precedents. What he did was to, according to the constitution, and the fact that the JDU leaders, including Nitish Kumar, had been putting unnecessary pressure on him was unwarranted. So the crisis as far as Bihar, of course, the ball now, the governor has given time to Jiten Ram Manjhi till the 20th of February to prove his majority. Meanwhile, the governor finally breaking his silence. All right, moving on now. One of the Alabama state police officers who allegedly assaulted an Indian national, leading to his partly being paralyzed, has been arrested. A U.S. Federal Bureau of Investigation has been directed to probe the incident that comes as an embarrassment to the state police.
What's going on, sir?
Actual pictures of the incident on Friday caught on police video. 57-year-old Suresh Bhai Patel, who had recently moved to the US from India, stopped by police citing suspicion. As he signaled inability to speak English, an officer pushed him to the ground. He was severely injured, requiring surgery to relieve pressure on his spinal cord.
You're all right. Put your legs on it. Stand up. Stand up.
Patel sued the city and two officers, alleging a race-related crime. The US has apologized and expressed condolences to the family. The accused policeman has been arrested and officials recommended he be fired.
The Secretary and the State Department certainly express our strong condolences to the family for everything that he has been through. This is being handled by local authorities, and certainly we would address any concerns through private diplomatic channels.
The FBI has started a probe into the matter to find out if there were any federal violations in the incident. Medical reports say Patel has regained some movement in his arms and legs, but remains very weak. India's External Affairs Ministry has also taken up the matter with the US authorities.
There has been progress on all fronts since yesterday. Our Consul General in Atlanta had deputed a council level official who was in Madison County yesterday. He met a lot of local officials there, as well as the family of Mr. Suresh Bhai Patel and the doctors who are attending on him.
The race crime fears send out a disturbing message. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha Television.
And we're joined by Anand K. Sahai, coordinating editor of The Asian Age, to help us understand in terms of diplomatic ties between India and the US. I mean, these were not instances that prime ministers and presidents would often talk about, but given the nature of the changing relationship, India becoming a more important partner, and therefore the US State Department certainly taking a relook at how it handles Indians.
Well, the thing is, race crimes in America have been all too frequent in recent months. It's usually, white police versus a man of color, a black person. We also saw the death of a young boy, and it's just been going on and on for some time. And there are inquiries ordered and so on, but there is a certain degree of complacency. I'm very glad that the government of India took up this matter with Washington in right earnest. And what makes me even happier is that President Obama himself stepped forward to apologize. And I don't really know who was at fault, that investigation will show. But if the president of a country steps forward to apologize, that means at least we would expect that the whole process would be handled with a degree of sensitivity and care, and that the message of this incident should echo there in their system for a while. Perhaps Mr. Obama did this because recently he had been making comments on the situation in our own country.
Right.
Of course, having said this, one has to add that in India the communal situation has been dipping and dipping and dipping for this last 7 or 8 months since this new government came to power. That's not quite the case in America. In America, you have race crime, you have far-right Christian groups, but they do not dominate the social political landscape as has been the case here.
Mr. Sahai, but also, I mean, in terms of this Indo-US ties, I mean, we had that diplomatic standoff over Devyani Khobragare about a year and a half ago, and now this incident's being handled completely differently. A change in ties, a marked shift also?
Yes, perhaps. Yes, perhaps. The Khobragare incident had come in the wake of not a cooling of, but a plateauing, a dipping of relations, because both India and America were for various reasons distracted, and they could not focus enough on this relationship. Although I think, people who think more deeply would have realized the potential in this relationship for both sides. And now that Khobegade incident is behind us, and with a very, very successful Obama visit here, there is a lot of work to do. There is a lot of work to do. Whether or not one regards the civil nuclear issue as a breakthrough, that's a matter of some controversy today.
Right.
But that apart, the fact that two important countries are agreeing to work together itself is a good sign, and to us and to the rest of the world. And I'm sure that the American side will try and do something about the most recent incident. It's extremely unfortunate for Mr. Patel. I hope nothing that they do really can compensate for the indignity, for the humiliation, and of course for physical damage of a very, very serious order. But yes, a mistake has been made somewhere, and if they show the willingness to correct it, then I'm sure both sides will look at the things in perspective and move on to larger issues.
All right, Mr. Anand Sai, we'll leave it there, but thank you very much for coming and helping us understand the diplomatic ties between first India and Pakistan and India and the US. Now, thanks so much for that. All right, moving on now on to Pakistan, where Pakistani Talibani terrorists disrupted Friday prayers at a mosque in Peshawar and killed 22 worshippers. 60 people were injured in the attack in the Hyderabad area and the capital of the Khyber Pakhtunkhwa province. Police said the armed men opened fire. Eyewitnesses heard 3 explosions inside the building. It was the biggest attack since last month, when at least 61 people, including children, were killed in a suicide bombing during Friday prayers at a packed Pakistani mosque in the Sindh province. It was also the second biggest attack in Peshawar since last December, when the Taliban killed no less than 150 people, including 136 school children. Now, even as the ceasefire is set to take effect in Ukraine, there are reports of fresh shelling around the rebel-held East Ukrainian cities of Donetsk and Luhansk. On Friday morning, a military spokesperson in Kiev said 8 members of Ukraine's military had been killed in fighting against separatists in the past 24 hours. Meanwhile, AFP reported rebels saying that 7 civilians had been killed. The Ukrainian police official also said 2 people were killed on Friday morning when rebels shelled a cafe near Luhansk. Both Luhansk and Donetsk are the front line where the pro-Russian rebels face government forces. The EU has warned Russia of additional sanctions if the peace deal to be implemented at midnight on Saturday is not respected.
I'm already concerned that we're seeing this morning a continuation of hostilities. We really expect these hostilities to terminate at the deadline that was set in Minsk, and we would really hope to see a decrease already between now and that moment. It is important to keep in mind that withdrawing the heavy weapons doesn't mean demilitarizing the area, unfortunately, so there will be a need for further steps, and I think we should really look over time at a situation where also there is a military disengagement, but we're not there yet.
More international news and updates in Global Buzz now. At least 47 soldiers have been killed and 73 others injured in clashes between government forces and rebels in Myanmar's Konkan region since Monday. The Global New Light of Myanmar said there have been more than 13 clashes in the last several days between government troops and rebels, with the government carrying out 5 airstrikes. However, the number of rebel casualties is not known. Islamic State militants launched an attack and seized parts of a town in Iraq's western province of Anbar on Thursday. The militants attacked the town of al-Baghdadi, which is 5 kilometers from the al-Assad base, from where the US forces are training Iraqi troops. The US is spearheading an air campaign against the militants who sieged large parts of Iraq and Syria last year. The Turkish president on Thursday criticized US President Barack Obama's silence over the killing of 3 Muslim students in North Carolina. The Turkish president urged Obama to take a position over the triple shooting case. The White House said it would wait the results of the police investigation before commenting. Alright, now on to a special series that we are running for the union budget that is presented on the 28th, that will be presented on the 28th this year. And like every year, the talk about the upcoming budget throws up the twin topics of the gender budgeting and women empowerment. Expectations remain high about the government making good on its promises on enacting gender-sensitive policies. But past experience has been never encouraging. Will this budget be any different? Let's take a look at the facts.
It is a shame that while the country has emerged as a major player amongst the emerging economies, the apathy towards the girl child is still quite rampant in these many parts of the country. Therefore, I propose to launch the Beti Bachao Beti Padhao Yojana, which will be focused scheme which will help in generating awareness and also improve the efficiency of the delivery welfare services meant for women. I propose to set aside a sum of rupees 100 crores for this.
For gender activists and professionals in the field, the Finance Minister's last budget announcement was a belated and quite insignificant attempt to iron out gender imbalances in India. It also marked yet another failure to bridge the gap between promise and practice.
We have a lot of young women who are now in workforce, and its issue is of safety and security, but it's not only to alert the police and sensitize the police, but also to give them safe places to live in cities.
In January, with much fanfare and appeals to emotions, the Prime Minister launched the Beti Bachao Beti Padhao in Haryana. But besides this 100 crore scheme, the government left untouched much that could have ensured gender mainstreaming.
Definitely we need more police women around patrolling, finding out, and so that women in society, in public places especially, see these women on patrol and are able to access them.
Year after year, the demands in the gender department remain unaddressed, from providing toilets and hostels for women to properly implementing the relevant acts to prevent prenatal tests, domestic violence, improving the retention rate of girls in schools, providing good quality food grains, funds to protect child workers, social security for women in informal sector, skill training institutes, the list goes on.
Gender should be the concern of this government in every sector. So it is not just in health and education, but also in environment, in science and technology, in food, in agriculture, in Panchayati Raj.
Despite making up 48% of the population, women lag far behind men on many social indicators. Gender budgeting was introduced in 2005-2006 to remedy this. In addition to sufficient funds, gender-responsive policies need a deep commitment as well. So far, successive union budgets have managed to guarantee neither.
The budget impacts women in several ways. It directly promotes women development through better allocations to women programs. Though the budget last year did make the right noise with Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao and safety for women, but the kitty at its disposal failed to meet the expectation of women itself. With camera person Vijay Kumar, this is Anshu J. Singh for Rajya Sabha TV.